Hey folks, Mark Levin here. Before we dive into today's episode, I want to talk about my go-to gold and silver company. Monetary Gold has over 25 years helping Americans understand physical gold and silver with an education-first, no-pressure approach and support for IRA-eligible options. Monetary Gold has a complimentary guide. It's free to help you understand precious metals. Call them right now, 877-NOW-GOLD, or visit marklovesgold.com and request the free guide. Make sure to ask for details. That's 877-NOW-GOLD, or visit marklovesgold.com. Performance may vary. You should always consult your financial and tax consultant. Now let's get to the show.
He's here. He's here. Now, broadcasting from the underground command post, deep in the bowels of a hidden bunker, somewhere under the brick and steel of a nondescript building, we've once again made contact with our leader, Mark Levin.
Mark Levin here. Our number, 877-381-3811, 1-877-381-3811. We have a power-packed show for you this evening, all 3 hours. You're going to love it? Well. Something called Notice.org on the Trump White House and Joe Kent and so forth and so on. Jose Piglieri and Jasmine Wright. It's a legitimate site, by the way. FBI Director Kash Patel has privately indicated a desire to make public as much information as possible about material allegedly leaked by Joe Kent, who resigned this week as director of the National Counterterrorism Center, according to law enforcement. Mr. Producer, would you open your microphone, please? Have we heard back from Mr. Kent?
I am still waiting. I sent him a DM yesterday.
Okay, we've tried. What am I, Daffy Duck? We tried twice to get Mr. Kent on the program, including before he did his spectacular propaganda Iranian event with America's anti-Semite, America's Christian hater, America's America hater. That would be Katarlson. By the way, he charged for that interview if you wanted to watch it. He had to sign up for his monthly deal, $9 a month. So I said, look, a friend of mine watched. I can't watch this stuff. It's just too stupid. He watched, and he said, guess what name was the most often mentioned, and a lot, by Kent and Katarlson? I said, let me guess. He said, yes, you. Me. And the reason is, you see, Katarlson is a real slimeball. So he says, I'm not attacking him. I'm not questioning him, but he wants to put a target on the back of my head. That's what he's doing. And I'm not the only one. He's attacking others, too. But apparently he's obsessed with me. Obsessed with me. So is Deep Throat, Mr. Producer. No, I won't get into that right now. I'll save that for another day. Did I just violate my own promise, Mr. Producer? I didn't say who she was, right? Okay. So I never mentioned her, did I? And I don't know what people are thinking. You know, during Watergate, the deputy FBI director was obviously leaking. Not obviously. He was outed after he died. To the Washington Post, Woodward and Bernstein. And they called him Deep Throat. And then they wrote a whole book called Deep Throat. And they did a whole movie called Deep Throat. That's what I'm referring to, of course. Anyway, let's move on. Patel believes declassifications could head off accusations that the timing of the investigation into Kent makes it appear as if the administration is retaliating against him for quitting his post and publicly breaking with the White House over its war on Iran. The source said, look, I don't talk to Kash Patel, not because I don't like him. I do like him. But there's nothing to talk about. But I would advise him over the air publicly, openly. Don't worry about these people, Kash. They have no clout. They call themselves influencers. They're de-influencers. Nothing they've tried to do to sabotage this country has worked. And 100% of MAGA supports Trump and 0% support them. So we've got another poll in the New York Post that I'll get to in a moment. The FBI is investigating alleged leaking of classified information by Kent, according to 2 government officials. It's actually according to 4. Semaphore said 4. Once the investigation is complete, the findings will be sent to the Justice Department, which would then decide whether to file criminal charges. Now, it's very interesting. This guy, General Mike Flynn, who's turned out to be a real whack job, and he's not the only one. I know. All these people who you thought were good, who I defended personally, day in and day out. Just very, very absurd, but I can't control it. It's them. It's not us. Now, that said, they're putting things out there. He better not be prosecuted. He better not be tried. They're not saying he didn't do it. They're not saying he shouldn't have done it. They're not saying, well, let's wait for the evidence. What they're saying is, they better not prosecute Kent. So now he's immune? He's immune because he undermined the president and allegedly leaked? I'm not done with this article. Goes on. The defection of Kent, a former Green Beret commando with strong MAGA credentials. What are the strong MAGA credentials? The guy voted for Bernie Sanders in 2020. He was a Democrat. He switches to Republican. Now in 2020, he votes for Sanders. Does that mean he voted for Biden in 2020? I don't have any idea. Well, he couldn't have. He voted for Sanders. You get my point in the general election. So he's a recent Republican. He wasn't always a Trump supporter, except when he decided to run for Congress twice and lost, and all of a sudden he moved right. Now he's moved left. It set off a firestorm in Washington. Quote, I cannot in good conscience support the ongoing war in Iran. Iran posed no imminent threat to our nation, and it is clear that we started the war due to pressure from Israel and its powerful American lobby. So Bloomberg taking the bait, and not just them, they contacted us, you know. Is it true Mark Levin lobbied for the war? I didn't lobby anybody for anything. Everything I said was behind this microphone and on television. Everything. Everything. Isn't that crazy? But Tucker said it, so this guy has leaked so much to the media. They work very closely together. You think these are... No. These woke right types are very close to the media. Politico, Bloomberg, Washington Post, New York Times, because they trade on this stuff. They want to undermine you and me, Mr. and Mrs. America, red-blooded Americans. So these are all grifters, and they trade on this stuff, and they trade on gossip. They always say, you know, the establishment. They are the establishment. Look at the woke right podcasters. They're the establishment. They've been in the media. And by that, pretend journalists. Oh, I'm a journalist. You know, I am a journalist. He used to support taking out the ballistic missiles. He used to support. I wanted to question him. I've got everything right here, like a good prosecutor. I've got it right here. I've got my questions. I've got the documents. I'm ready to roll. And Joe Kent won't show up. Now, either his lawyer told him don't do it, or Tarleton told him don't do it, because obviously I would ask him about all his communications with Tarleton. Why not? Or Megyn Kelly. or Candace Owens or anybody else. I want to know who he's communicated with. And if he hasn't leaked, he has no problem. He can say, look, I talk to these people all the time, but I never gave them confidential or classified information. That's a perfectly legitimate answer. Maybe they're all friends. But that's not really what I'm talking about, is it? But I'm a journalist. I can talk to who... Shut up, you idiot. A law enforcement source said FBI agents had determined Kent shared secret government information with disaffected MAGA media figures like Tucker Carlson. This is what they wrote. I don't know if this is true. I want to know. I put a post out on social media all over the internet, and I said to Tucker Carlson, hey, look, just tell us. Just tell us. Did Joe Kent provide you with any government information? Did he provide you with any confidential or classified information? If not, just say no. Nobody gave me any classified or confidential information. I can say no. Now, what about him? Inquiring minds want to know. Tucker. A second administration official said that Kent leaked classified information from a server to a member of the media. Now, this is why the media is circling the wagons around Kent and around the woke right neo-fascists, because they all work together. That's the dirty little secret. I don't work with these media types. They do. And they're doing it to trash Trump. Isn't it interesting? The media, it could be Bloomberg, it could be the New York Times, whatever. They know that Tucker Carlson is an anti-Semite. They know that he's a Jew-hating scum. They know that he's a Christian-hating scum. They know that he's the front for Qatar and Iran and all the rest of it. I believe he is anyway. He's certainly a mouthpiece. And yet they still work with him. They still work with him. Do you think they would have worked with Goebbels during World War II, Mr. Producer? Probably right. Yeah, why am I even asking that? Neither the FBI nor Carlson immediately responded to requests on Thursday. Why, Tucker? What is wrong with this request? Did you receive any confidential or classified information from Kent? Simple question. You talked about these texts. Now, clearly, you had texts. I talked about this last night. You had texts with foreign governments, did you? That's okay. Did you have, for me, my question is, focus in, like a lawyer, like a prosecutor. Were you texting the regime in Iran in the lead up to the war? During the war? Were you? They're an enemy. We've declared that they're the enemy. Were you, or were you not texting with the enemy? It's that simple. Was he? He clearly was. I mean, I have to assume he was, because he was trying to get out in front. Look at my texter now. It's at Farah. They're going to investigate. When you read this article, and look, I'm only basing it on public information. I don't have any inside information. I don't even want it. I draw my own conclusions and use my own rationality and experience. The guy comes out last week with a weird video. Looks like he's, looks like a kidnap video out of Sweden or something. And anyway, and you can see he's wetting himself. He's saying, hey, you know what? What? Word is that I'm under investigation. Word is that the CIA... Excuse me. I can't do that prepubescent stuff. Word is that they've been looking at my texts. Word is that the CIA released them. Word is that I'm being investigated for a FARA violation. Word is... Really? Why are you being investigated for a FARA investigation, and why would the CIA have your text? And I told you this at the time. The only way the CIA would have Tucker Carlson's text isn't because he was on their list to monitor. It's because as they are monitoring the Iranians in every way possible, because it's a lead-up to a war, and it's a war, and we need that intelligence information. I'm not violating any state secrets. I didn't say how it's done or where it's done, because I don't know what they're doing. But I do know generally that's what they're doing. Why wouldn't they? Obviously, some text came across. Look at this. What? Tucker? No, there's not many Tuckers out there. Tucker. What kind of name is Tucker? Aren't many Tuckers out there. Look at this. Look what's in this text, and this one, and this. Here's the point. Tucker knows if he texted them and what he texted them. If he texted them and said, the weather's beautiful out there, okay, that's fine. Nobody cares. But if he's texting them something else, that's different. That's different. See, this is why they hate my guts. Because I figure this stuff out, explain it to you. I explained it to you last week. I've explained it to you earlier this week. I explained it yesterday. I'm explaining it again. I mean, if the press said to me, I said, no, talking about. So Kent went on, they write, Carlson's popular online show Wednesday, his first public appearance since his departure. On the show, Carlson highlighted Kent's longstanding view that a U.S. war with Iran would be disastrous. That's not Kent's longstanding view. Would strengthen China and the rest. Carlson framed the situation one in which powerful government figures are caught in a lie and trying to silence. So Bloomberg wants to know if I lobbied the president. Now, this happens because this is a attempt to change the narrative. Look at this. Mark Levin lobbied the president on behalf of Israel. But I didn't. Everything I've said is public. 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 I certainly wouldn't have texts with the enemy. That's a fact. So I'm curious to know. Tucker can come clean. He already put out that video. That raises a lot of questions, does it not? We've got a lot more. I'll be right back.
Mark Levin.
Folks, many central banks around the world, the same institutions that print all that money, they're buying gold at record levels, and they're not speculating. It seems like they're diversifying away from the U.S. dollar. Many global central bank gold holdings have now surpassed the holdings of U.S. treasuries. The problem is the endless spending, the endless borrowing, driving up interest rates and driving down the value of the dollar. This is where my trusted friends at Monetary Gold come in. With over 100 years of combined trading floor experience, these are people who have lived through every market cycle. And right now, for qualifying accounts, Monetary Gold may cover your IRA fees for the life of your account. So call Monetary Gold today, 877-NOW-GOLD. That's 877-NOW-GOLD. Or visit marklovesgold.com, marklovesgold.com. It's a company built on trust and built to last. Call 877-NOW-GOLD or go to marklovesgold.com. Results can vary. Always consult your financial and tax advisors before investing. CIA Director John Ratcliffe being questioned by Josh Gottheimer today at a hearing. Cut one, go.
If left unchecked, do you think Iran would have the ability to develop missiles capable of reaching the United States?
Yes.
Did Israel force the U.S.'s hand and make us take action, as some have claimed?
No.
Director Gabbard, do you agree with the CIA director's assessment on that last question in particular?
Yes, so Israel had nothing to do with pressuring anybody. But that won't stop the media working very, very closely with its woke right neo-fascist friends. Here's Netanyahu in Jerusalem today. Cut two, go.
And I want to close these opening remarks with one other fake news, and that is that Israel somehow dragged the U.S. into a conflict with Iran. Does anyone really think that someone can tell President Trump what to do? Come on. President Trump always makes his decisions on what he thinks is good for America, and may I add, I think what is also good for future generations.
But they won't stop the media, the woke right. They're planning stories with each other. They're trying to continue with that propaganda that it was the Jewish lobby and other Jews and Israel. And Ratcliffe says never happened. Netanyahu says never happened. Most importantly, Trump says never happened. But it doesn't matter. That's the narrative they want. I'll be right back. I believe disciplined investors don't panic during price dips. They capitalize on them. If the gold and silver surged into the $5,400 to $5,500 range, we saw a sharp correction recently as some folks took profits. But many financial minds didn't run. They accumulated. Because in a long-term bull market, dips can be opportunities, not warnings, because you look at the trajectory. The fundamentals driving gold's rise haven't changed. And silver, well, silver dropped more than 11% recently, and many analysts called it exactly what it was, a consolidation, not a collapse, and it's back moving up again. And right now, for qualifying accounts, monetary gold may even cover your IRA fees for the rest of your life on your account. That's a real value if you're moving retirement funds into precious metals. So call Monetary Gold today, 877-NOW-GOLD. That's 877-NOW-GOLD. Or visit marklovesgold.com, marklovesgold.com. Results can vary. Always consult your financial and tax advisors before investing.
When the going gets tough, a tough get. Mark Levin. Call him now at 877-381-3811.
Netanyahu today in Jerusalem. Cut 3, go.
Under President Trump's visionary leadership, America and Israel are acting together in Iran with great determination and unprecedented strength. Operation Rising Lion is designed to remove the existential threats posed by the Ayatollah regime, the regime that has waged war against America and Israel and the people of Iran for 47 years. It chants death to America, death to Israel, and it delivers death to its own people. Our goals are 3. 1, removing the nuclear threat. 2, removing the ballistic missile threat, and removing both of these threats before they're buried deep underground and become immune from aerial attack. And 3, this means creating the conditions for the Iranian people to grasp their freedom, to control their destiny.
Is that complicated to people? I don't understand. Of course not. Then finally, cut 4, go.
But I think if people are honest, if leaders are honest, they would understand that we're not only fighting our fight, we're fighting their fight. I speak to dozens of world leaders. Dozens. They all know that. And privately, they all say that. They say that privately, but I say it publicly. The world owes a debt of deep indebtedness to President Trump for leading this effort to safeguard our future.
No, you don't understand, BB. You dragged us into a war. I dragged us into a war. The media wants to write that script, too. So stupid. Here's the president with the Prime Minister of Japan today. Cut 6, go.
And I saw what was happening in Iran, and I said, I hate to make this excursion, but we're going to have to do it. And I actually thought the numbers would be worse. I thought that it would go up more than it did. But we're doing this excursion, and when it's completed, we're going to have a much safer world. And the Prime Minister agrees with me on this. She considers it to be terrible what Iran did. I think every country does, just about every country does. Iran is a serious threat to the world, to the Middle East and to the world. And everybody agrees with me. I think virtually every country agrees with me on that. So I wanted to put out that fire. And I said, if I do that, oil prices will go up, the economy will go down a little bit. I thought it would be worse, much worse, actually. I thought there was a chance it could be much worse. It's not bad, and it's going to be over with pretty soon.
Mm-hmm. There you go. There you go. Cut 9, Mr. Producer, go.
No, I'm not putting troops anywhere.
No, I said cut 9. Cut 9.
Volatile world, and the military equipment, the power of some of this weaponry is unthinkable. You don't even want to know about it. Oh, you could end this thing in 2 seconds if you wanted to, but we are being very judicious. But we want to do. Don't forget, Biden gave away. I rebuilt the military in my first term. Biden gave away so stupidly to Afghanistan a lot. He didn't want to move it. He was too lazy, too stupid to move it. But it was a very small amount. It was a lot, but it was very small relative to what I purchased and what I built. We want to have vast amounts of ammunition, which we have right now. We have a lot of ammunition.
Mm-hmm. And finally, cut 10, please. Go.
But honestly, Japan, China, Europe, parts of Europe get a lot of their oil through the Strait. We get none, practically. We're less than 1%. We don't have to be any percent. We don't even. I think we do it just to be nice. But we think of it. We don't use the Strait. We're defending the Strait for everybody else. And then in the case of NATO, they don't want to help us defend the Strait, and they're the ones that need it. But now they're getting much nicer because they're seeing my attitude. They're getting much nicer. But it's, as far as I'm concerned, it's too late. You know, UK wants to send aircraft carriers now. And I said, I want the aircraft carriers before the war. I don't want them after the war is won. They want to send me aircraft carriers after the war. There's practically nobody to shoot at them.
You listen to this man, he knows what he wants to do. And yet the media keep trying to act like he's a supplicant or something, that he can be pressured and this, that, and the other, and so forth. It's just very weird. He'll ask your opinion, he'll do stuff like that about anything and everything, depending on the mood he's in and so forth, but he makes his decisions. He decided, especially in matters of war and peace. Pete Hegseth is a hell of a Secretary of War. I think he's fantastic. He's taking some incoming from the usual woke right, the neo-fascists and others. But he's in many ways, he reminds me of a young Caspar Weinberger. Now, Caspar Weinberger wasn't as passionate in his speaking as Pete, but he was a bulldog, just as Pete is. He's doing a fantastic job. I mean, this is a lot to do when you're Secretary of War. You're overseeing all of this activity. It's on you, all the branches. And they're having spectacular results. He's very happy, passionate, and excited about it. And he should be. Those are our men and women. That's a good thing. Everybody's supposed to be dour, chin on the ground, woe is me. No. Our troops are advancing. Our forces are advancing. One tier after another. Here he was this morning. Cut 12, go.
I stand here today speaking to you, the American people, not through filters, not through reporters, not through cable news spin. A dishonest and anti-Trump press will stop at nothing. We know this at this point. To downplay progress, amplify every cost, and call into question every step. Sadly, TDS is in their DNA. They want President Trump to fail. But you, the American people, know better. Yes, there are reporters in front of me, but they are not our audience today. It's you, the good, decent, patriotic American people. You, the hardworking, tax-paying, God-fearing American patriots. The media here, not all of it, but much of it, wants you to think, just 19 days into this conflict, that we're somehow spinning toward an endless abyss or a forever war or a quagmire. Nothing could be further from the truth. Hear it from me, one of hundreds of thousands who fought in Iraq and Afghanistan, who watched previous foolish politicians like Bush, Obama, and Biden squander American credibility. This is not those wars. President Trump knows better. Epic fury is different. It's laser focused. It's decisive.
Let's go to cut 13, please. Go.
To date, we've struck over 7,000 targets across Iran and its military infrastructure. That is not incremental. That is overwhelming force applied with precision. And again, today, will be the largest strike package yet, just like yesterday was. As I've said from day one, our capabilities continue to build. Iran's continue to degrade. We're hunting and striking death and destruction from above. Iran's air defenses flattened. Iran's defense industrial base, the factories, the production lines that feed their missile and drone programs, being overwhelmingly destroyed. We've hit hundreds of their defense industrial bases directly. Their ability to manufacture new ballistic missiles has probably taken the hardest hit of all. Ballistic missile attacks against our forces, down 90% since the start of the conflict. Same with one-way attack UAVs. Think kamikaze drones, down 90%. Now, the Iranians will still shoot, we know that, but they would shoot a lot more if they could, but they can't. The last job anyone in the world wants right now? Senior leader for the IRGC, or Besiege. Temp jobs, all of them. And to borrow a page from Admiral Ernest King in World War II, we've decided to share the ocean with Iran. We've given them the bottom half.
Now, there's some people, even people I like, that's cocky. No. That's a leader who's doing very, very well and doing what he's supposed to do and what our brave men and women in uniform are supposed to do. One more from Pete. I'm playing these because I know a lot of you are actually working when they have these press conferences and so forth. So, cut 14, go.
Iran has terrorized the United States and our interests for 47 years. Their core industries, not steel or agriculture or tourism, their core industries are state-sponsored terrorism, proxy militias, underground networks, ballistic missiles, and a violent, messianic, Islamist ideology chasing some sort of apocalyptic endgame. A regime like that, refusing to abandon its nuclear ambitions, is not just a regional problem. It's a direct threat to America, to freedom, and to civilization. The world, the Middle East, our ungrateful allies in Europe, even segments of our own press should be saying one thing to President Trump. Thank you. Thank you for the courage to stop this terror state from holding the world hostage with missiles while building or attempting to build a nuclear bomb. Thank you for doing the work of the free world.
We'll be right back.
Mark Levin.
Folks, many central banks around the world, the same institutions that print all that money, they're buying gold at record levels, and they're not speculating. Seems like they're diversifying away from the U.S. dollar. Many global central bank gold holdings have now surpassed the holdings of U.S. Treasuries. The problem is the endless spending, the endless borrowing, driving up interest rates and driving down the value of the dollar. This is where my trusted friends at Monetary Gold come in. With over 100 years of combined trading floor experience, these are people who have lived through every market cycle. And right now, for qualifying accounts, Monetary Gold may cover your IRA fees for the life of your account. So call Monetary Gold today, 877-NOW-GOLD. That's 877-NOW-GOLD. Or visit marklovesgold.com, marklovesgold.com. It's a company built on trust and built to last. Call 877-NOW-GOLD or go to marklovesgold.com. Results can vary. Always consult your financial and tax advisors before investing. One of my great heroes, Thomas Sowell. He's got to be about 95 right now. I know he's not well enough to appear on TV because I've asked him in his last book. He asked to come on my show and only my show, which is what we did on Fox. In 2010, 15 and a half years ago, he was asked by Peter Robinson, who does a great job, he's a good guy, was a speechwriter for President Reagan. And I like him. I don't know him well, but I do like him, and he's very impressive. He was interviewing Tom Sowell 15, 16 years ago. Listen to this, 15, 16 years ago, cut 26, go.
Let me ask you this. Do you consider it then the duty of the President of the United States to prevent Iran from gaining nuclear?
Absolutely.
That's clear to you.
Absolutely. I don't know what earthly chance we have or the Western world has, once Iran has those weapons. You know, it took
what about
two
this
weapons.
Notion, what about this notion of deterrence? It worked during the Cold War.
The Russians did not want us to blast Moscow off the map. The Iranians have said themselves, going back to Ayatollah Khomeini, that their top priority is not Iran, but Allah. And so if they get into a war in which Iran is knocked out, but they then strike a blow for Allah, they're happy with that.
And failing any serious sign that the United States would attack, would you say that it's the duty of the Prime Minister of Israel and his cabinet to order an attack?
Oh, absolutely. But think of how pathetic this is, that the fate of the United States of America would be in the hands of a country smaller than Lake Michigan.
Absolute genius. That was a 1 minute discussion. 1 minute. And good job, Peter. 100%. Outstanding. He's really good. I like the guy. We love Thomas Sowell. Thomas Sowell stands with us. He doesn't stand with these woke right neo-fascists who've accomplished nothing. Tell me something. Has Tucker Carlson ever even written anything that you've read? No. Megyn Kelly? No. Steve Bannon? No. Owens? Good God, no. Go right down the list. They ever say anything profound other than Jews, Jews, Israel, Israel, Jews, and Israel? No. Nothing. Nothing. And what people don't understand, you understand because you're in my audience. This is conservative talk radio. This is something that Bob Grant did, something that Rush Limbaugh did. This is the home of Americanism. They ignored it at their own peril, their own career peril. They don't understand how big this is. They're all on the internet. Well, it's big, very big. And you don't stand with them. You stand with the president. You don't hate Israel. They hate Israel. There's nothing to hate. There's nothing to hate. Do I owe you something, Mr. Producer? I want to finish the hour one more time with that interview with Thomas Sowell and Peter Robinson. Just one more time. There's a ton to do the next 2 hours of the program. Go.
Let me ask you this. Do you consider it then the duty of the President of the United States to prevent Iran from gaining nuclear?
Absolutely.
That's clear to you.
Absolutely. I don't know what earthly chance we have, or the Western world has, once Iran has those weapons. You know, it took two weapons.
What about this notion of deterrence? It worked during the Cold War.
The Russians did not want us to blast Moscow off the map. The Iranians have said themselves, going back to Ayatollah Khomeini, that their top priority is not Iran, but Allah. And so if they get into a war in which Iran is knocked out, but they then strike a blow for Allah, they're happy with that.
And failing any serious sign that the United States would attack, would you say that it's the duty of the Prime Minister of Israel and his cabinet to order an attack?
Oh, absolutely. But think of how pathetic this is, that the fate of the United States of America would be in the hands of a country smaller than Lake Michigan.
I ask you, folks, you stand with Tom Sowell or Megyn Kelly? You stand with Tom Sowell or Nick Fuentes? You stand with Tom Sowell or Joe Kent? You stand with Tom Sowell or Tucker Carlson? I mean, seriously? Seriously? The President of the United States knows what the hell he's doing. Okay? He knows what he's doing. I'll be right back. This segment of the podcast is exclusively sponsored by Pure Talk. Pure Talk offers great coverage and can save your family money on your wireless bill every single month. Go to puretalk.com to find the plan that's right for you. Thank you again for listening, and thank you so much for this sponsorship, Pure Talk.
He's here. He's here. Now, broadcasting from the underground command post, deep in the bowels of a hidden bunker, somewhere under the brick and steel of a nondescript building, we've once again made contact with our leader, Mark Levin.
Hello, America. Mark Levin here. I just started thinking about these so-called influencers. Where does that word come from, mister? Do we know who made that up? You got Alex Jones, right? Didn't he lose a suit for like billions of dollars? Has he paid off the money? Pod Hordes has a great point. Has he paid it off? Seriously. I mean, what did he say? That was some kind of a phony job or something? The murder of all those kids? I don't remember what it was. Then you got Bannon. He's ripping off little old ladies. He claims he's going to build a southern wall. Not one brick. No cement, nothing. He pled guilty to it. Just look at these people. Look at these people. Who are these people? You got this guy, Joe Kent. He votes for Bernie Sanders in 2020. Then he's a Democrat. Then he's a Republican. He runs twice. He loses. He and little Ada Fuentes, they befriend each other. I played the clip for you. He's all for crushing the Iranians, crushing their ballistic missiles and their nuclear system. Then like a switch flips. And now it's the Jews, the Israelis dragged us into this. Donald Trump doesn't have his own agency, doesn't have his own ability to make his own decisions, which we all know is BS. And then the most perverse of them all is this Carlson guy. I mean, honestly, what do you really know about this guy who's born with a platinum foot in his mouth? It's just so weird, these people. Unaccomplished. Utterly unaccomplished. Some of them, forget about accomplished, they're just flat out nuts. One of the things that's happening is the mainstream media keeps pushing them. And these websites like Mediaite, they keep pushing them. They promote them. Because the same business model that drives the nuts drives the left. The more hits they get, they have these algorithms and they check them, the data. Okay, what headlines? Okay, Tucker hits, Levin hits, this one hits, these words are big. And the headlines reflect that. They're not really media organizations. So they're all whoring out each other. And what a mess it's become. You're sick of them and I'm sick of them. A complete mess. Disaster. Okay, we have Ratcliffe. I want to continue with him. This is a real stand-up guy. The House hearing today. What about all this uranium, this weapons-grade uranium? Couldn't it be used for, like, domestic energy? Remember, they're selling oil to China. Cut 15, go.
Yeah, much has been made by some about a fatwa against the development of nuclear weapons.
By the way, stop. He is countering Joe Kent, who used that. There is no fatwa. Number one. Number two, who cares? That's not what they're doing. I mean, how stupid do you have to be? How delusional do you have to be? Take it from the top, please. Go.
Yeah, much has been made by some about a fatwa against the development of nuclear weapons. Notwithstanding the fatwa, what we know, and the intelligence community is in agreement on this, is that Iran possesses at least 440 kilograms of uranium enriched to weapons grade 60%, which doesn't have a civilian use.
22,000 pounds. 22 weapons grade uranium. 22,000 pounds to heat their homes. Come on, nobody believes that. It's unnecessary. You don't need to refine it to that level. You're refining it to make nuclear weapons. Why do we even play this game with these damnable fools? Go ahead.
That would be the development of nuclear weapons.
Mm-hmm. Tulsi Gabbard at the hearing with Stephen Cohen. Stephen Cohen is a lowlife. I think he represents Memphis, but he's a lowlife. Cut 16, go.
Does the IC know where Iran's enriched uranium is?
The IC has high confidence that we know where it is.
And can you tell us that in classified?
We can speak more about this topic in the classified setting.
Okay. Could it be, we have methods of destroying it?
Oh, Jesus.
This is a conversation for a closed setting, sir.
What a moron that guy is. Stupid. Elise Stefanik, who I consider a hero. I think she would have been a great governor in New York. I actually think she would have won. I forget the name. Who's the guy running, Mr. Producer? You like the guy. You can't remember his name? You're a Stefanik person? I'm going to have to bring him on at some point, but I still remain very annoyed about how they squeezed her out of the primary. Just very, very foolish, very stupid. What is it? Bruce Lakeman, that's right. Anyway, here's Elise Stefanik questioning Tulsi Gabbard. Cut 17, go.
When you began your testimony, you stated that your remarks do not represent your personal beliefs. That's the first time I've heard that at a committee hearing. Why did you say that? Or is there anything in the threat assessment that you personally disagree with?
Thank you for the question, Congresswoman. The reason I've said that is twofold. Number one is when I assumed this role as Director of National Intelligence through the confirmation process and beyond, many members of Congress rightly said your personal views and your politics in this role get checked at the door. And as Director of National Intelligence, my responsibility is to report the intelligence community's assessments objectively and to make sure that they are not politicized in any way, shape, or form. Unfortunately, there are those who, for one reason or another, have tried to mischaracterize the intelligence community's assessments and saying, well, this is just a political view, or trying to misdirect from what the intelligence community is reporting. So I took the opportunity to state that from the outset, that this is the intelligence community's assessments.
That's good to hear. Cut 18, go.
I want to touch on the rise of terrorist attacks on the homeland. In the month of March alone, there were multiple high-profile Islamic terrorist attacks. You had Temple Israel Synagogue in Michigan. You had in Texas, you had an ISIS-inspired attack where they threw an IED in New York City. What is your assessment as to the rise of Islamic terrorism on the homeland?
As you've pointed to, Congresswoman, this continues to be an extreme concern.
So stop.
Not only because
I want you to listen. It's an extreme concern. Islamic terrorism. Okay? Can we even agree on that, America? I think we can. It's an extreme concern. Islamic terrorism. Not Buddhist terrorism, not Hindu terrorism, not Jewish terrorism, not Christian terrorism, not atheist terrorism, not agnostic terrorism. Islamic terrorism. Got it? Go ahead.
But the mechanisms which they're carried out and the challenges that the intelligence community has in being able to try to detect some of these threats and attacks in advance. I'd like to defer to the FBI director on some of this because they have been very successful in many cases over the last year in detecting them and preventing these attacks. But due to the nature of the challenge in many of these attackers not having contact with known foreign terrorist entities or individuals makes this a much more challenging.
We have a guest coming up after the break, Jonathan Levin at the Washington Free Beacon, one of the great sites. It seems like Mondami's wife is a cheerleader for terrorism and is a bigot. It goes beyond what you already know, what we've already discussed, the other information that's come out. I think you're going to want to hear this because we have a big problem. It's not just for New York City, it's for the country. When the first lady of the biggest city in the country may be a jihadi, she's certainly a radical Islamist. And of all the women this mayor could have married, he married her. I wonder why. We'll be right back.
Mark Levin.
It's time for a little spring cleaning, and I know where to start. Go drag your old, dated wireless contract out of the closet and beat it with a broom. Then freshen things up by switching to Pure Talk, my wireless company that gives you unlimited talk, text, and plenty of data, just $25 a month, with no contract, no cancellation fees, and no overseas customer service if you ever need help. I'm guessing you're going to like them as much as my listener, Paul, from Greer, South Carolina. He says, I finally listened to Mark Levin's advice and switched from Verizon. I'm getting the very same service for less than half of what I was paying Verizon. You know, I long wondered if these much lower services could provide the same level of service as the big boys. Now I know that Pure Talk certainly can. Thank you, Paul. Now it's time for you folks to make the switch, too. Go to puretalk.com/Levin, puretalk.com/Levin, and you'll save 50% off your first month. That's puretalk.com/Levin, and switch to a wireless company that shares your values. Pure Talk, America's wireless company. Well, we have John Levin back. He's at the Washington Free Beacon. He's a real reporter. You know, I can count that on my hands and toes, John. That's about it. You have a big breaking story about Mrs. Mamdani, don't you?
Yeah, well, you know, it's great to be here. It's great to be here. And yeah, we have another installment of the Mrs. Zohran Mamdani expressing support for terrorism. And it falls into the category for me of if it walks like a duck and sounds like a duck, it's a duck. And first it was we're liking posts celebrating October 7th. Oh, well, she didn't know what she was doing. I don't know. Then it was she's collaborating with a woman on a book who's called Jews, Vampires, Cockroaches. Oh, well, she didn't know that. She didn't see those tweets. And now we have her on old social media posts when she was 20 years old, sharing images of Palestinian terrorists like Layla Khalid. And Layla Khalid has this famous quote, you know, if my cause wishes me to die, I'll die. I paraphrase a little bit. And she shared this on her Tumblr account in 2017. And like, what are we doing here? She's also reposted other Palestinian terrorists celebrating them. One of them on International Women's Day, a famous bomb maker who was blown up by a bomb she was making in her home. And at a certain point, it's like, these can't all just be coincidences. These clearly reflect her beliefs. She's clearly supportive of radical Islamic extremism. And you know, she's the first lady in New York City. And now you have Zohran Mamdani, who also looks the other way at this stuff. And I'll remind you, we just had an ISIS terrorist attack in New York City last week. An ISIS terrorist threw a bomb at a crowd of people on the Upper East Side. Thank God it didn't go off. But like, what are we doing here? And meanwhile, the inmates are running the asylum. It's coming from inside the house. So I don't know where we go from here, truthfully.
That's the thing. Has he responded to this yet, John?
No. I emailed him, gave him 3 hours. I said, all right, his people. I said, let's hear a response. What do you have to say about all this? Ignored me. Then we published. We're everywhere now. Everyone has seen this. It's been picked up by a lot of different media. Still no response. And this is just most shameful. He gave a press conference today talking about his Department of Community Safety, which is going to replace the NYPD, the social worker police force. And he took about 6 or 7, 8 questions from reporters, and not a single reporter asked him about this. And everyone saw it. I know when one of my stories goes everywhere. You know, the original tweet I put out has over 4 million views. Everyone saw it. Every reporter saw it. The New York Post, the Daily Mail, Newsweek has all picked it up. I don't even know who else picked it up since I've started talking to you.
Mamdani picked it up because they track the press. Anytime his name is mentioned. And so they know what you wrote, they know what you said, and they're going to try and blow it off, and they're going to have a press that's going to go along. But at some point, somebody's going to have to be able to ask, no?
You know what? I would hope so. I would think so. But frankly, it's regime media. The regime media in New York City is so profound. And he controls who he calls on. If you want to go to a Mamdani event and you're a reporter, you've got to RSVP, which has never been the case before. Eric Adams would never have gotten away with that. But Mamdani's making reporters RSVP, and he controls who he calls on. And I hope this doesn't happen, but I think it's possible he's just going to try to ride this out, not say a word about it. And it's very possible there's not a single reporter in New York City that's going to ask him.
Now, these people that she's cheering on and so forth and so on, these are really serious terrorists. You've got
Layla Khalid.
Yeah. Tell us about Khalid.
You're probably of a certain age where you might remember Layla Khalid.
I do.
I always say she was she broke the glass ceiling for hijackers. She was the first woman to hijack a plane. Palestinian glass ceiling achievement unlock. She hijacked a plane in 1969 and 1970. In 1970, El Al flight, she storms the cockpit with a grenade and is threatening to bring down the plane. Like, this is psycho behavior. She's still around, by the way. She's an old terrorist now, and she's still celebrated by this movement. She's been a member of the Popular Front for the Liberation of Palestine. That's a good question.
She teaching in one of our colleges or universities?
She might as well be. It would be indistinguishable from what they're getting right now. She's been a member of the Popular Front for the Liberation of Palestine her whole life. That's been a designated terrorist organization since 1997. And what are we doing here? All these people do is chant death to America, death to Israel. Their whole identity is about killing Jews. And you have the First Lady of New York City, who's not a private person, by the way. She's the First Lady of New York City, who is openly celebrating these monstrous people. Enough. And I will never stop, Mark Levin. And if they're listening to this show, and I know that you're a very influential guy, my message to them is I will never stop. I will keep finding out everything I can and expose these people for the world to see.
You're doing a hell of a good job. Now, she celebrated, as you pointed out earlier, other terrorists, too. So she was really into this just 8 years ago. Where did she go to school, his wife?
She posted these when she was living in Dubai at the time, and she was going to school out there. But this is part of a broader sort of liberal milieu consensus that she's a part of, that her husband, Mamdani, is a part of. Obviously, his father is a Columbia University professor who's coming out with a book about Gaza next year, apparently. That should be interesting when that comes out. So that'll give me news stories to write about. And it's just... when you point this out and you bring this to the attention of people, they call you homophobic. And I'll add, because you didn't bring it up, but I'll add, I also found on her Twitter account, she used the N-word. She used the N-word. I'm not going to repeat that word. She used the N-word, and she also said she used slurs to describe gay people. And it falls into the category of, Mark, if this was a Republican, do I even need to finish that sentence? Do I even need to finish that sentence? And so, no, I'll quote an individual, I think, which is Saul Alinsky, Rules for Radicals. I know you know him. And Saul Alinsky, it's a fascinating book, and it's sort of a liberal progressive community organizer Bible. And one of the laws of the Rules for Radicals is hold your enemy to their own book of rules. Make them live by their own standard that they impose on you. I remember the Covington kids. Oh, he's just a teenager. They killed that. They went after that young man for nothing. He just looked the wrong way, and they thought he's a racist because in the Trump hat. I remember Kyle Kashuv, shooting survivor, and he had said the N-word in a couple of group chats. When he was a teenager, Harvard rescinded the application. So I don't want to hear she was just a young girl.
Remember the pizza guy? I forget who it was. Papa's Pizza or whatever it was. He lost his whole business.
There's a million cases of them doing it. And as God is my witness...
And by the way, we're not excusing it. We're just showing the double standard here.
Double standard. I will hold them to their own book of rules. I extend grace to people who will not give it to me. No.
You're terrific. And you're with a terrific site. We love the Washington Free Beacon here. John, keep it up. And
you're doing great work, too. I want to congratulate you for the shout-out from the president recently.
Yeah, that was a surprise. I was told he went to daddy. I didn't go to anybody. So these people are so sick. All right, Jonathan Levin.
He has excellent news judgment.
Thank you, brother. You're doing a great job. Keep it up. We look forward to having you back. We'll be right back. It's time for a little spring cleaning, and I know where to start. Go drag your old, dated wireless contract out of the closet and beat it with a broom. Then freshen things up by switching to Pure Talk, my wireless company that gives you unlimited talk, text, and plenty of data, just $25 a month, with no contract, no cancellation fees, and no overseas customer service if you ever need help. I'm guessing you're going to like them as much as my listener, Paul, from Greer, South Carolina. He says, I finally listened to Mark Levin's advice and switched from Verizon. I'm getting the very same service for less than half of what I was paying Verizon. You know, I long wondered if these much lower services could provide the same level of service as the big boys. Now I know that Pure Talk certainly can. Thank you, Paul. Now it's time for you folks to make the switch, too. Go to puretalk.com/Levin, puretalk.com/Levin, and you'll save 50% off your first month. That's puretalk.com/Levin, and switch to a wireless company that shares your values. Pure Talk, America's wireless company.
America's most powerful conservative voice. The Mark Levin Show. Dial in now. 877-381-3811.
Drives them nuts. Drives the libs nuts. What's that all about? Speaker Johnson on Fox News yesterday. Cut 22, go.
I'm not sure what Joe Kent is reading, but it's not the same intel that I've seen. Look, I'm on the Gang of Eight. We got all the briefings before this operation in Iran began. We got briefings during and then after it commenced. And the intelligence was exquisite. It was very clear this was an imminent threat to the United States and America's interest, and the commander-in-chief did exactly the right thing. He had to protect American lives. We knew that those ballistic missiles that they were stockpiling and preparing were going to be fired at our troops and our civilians and our installations in the region. And so the commander-in-chief did what he had to do. Joe Kent seemed to understand that until about 24 hours ago. I'm not sure what happened there. There's lots of discussion about it on Capitol Hill, as you can imagine. We're trying to get down to the bottom of it. But he is an outlier. I'm telling you, as was noted earlier, Bongino and others have said, everyone else in the administration and everyone who sees the actual intelligence understands clearly that the president did what he had to do.
You know what bothers me? You got these one-off guys, these guys that have an agenda, these guys who are undermining the president, these guys who are isolationists and all bigots and all the rest. And so everybody has to respond to them because that's the nature of the media. Everyone has to respond to Joe Kent. Everyone has to respond to Tucker Carlson and Megyn Kelly. Everyone has to respond to all these people who are outliers. They're way, way outliers. I mean, it's not even close. You don't like them, and you don't agree with them. You like the president. And the president would never do anything so offensive like this. He's not dragged into anything. He's not looking for wars. We know this enemy. We're familiar with this enemy. We've been familiar with this enemy since 1979. We have to play along with these buffoons? Seriously? Over and over and over again? Same damn thing, same damn people? It's crazy. There's a poll out here. Let me see if I can find it in time. Give me a second. Let's see here. I know I have it, don't I, Rich? I've got it here somewhere. Here we are, from the New York Post. Republicans overwhelmingly back Trump over Tucker Carlson, Megyn Kelly on Iran war. Poll finds. Let's see here. Reports of Republican fractures over the president's decision to go to war with Iran have been greatly exaggerated. According to a new poll shared exclusively with the Post, the JL Partners survey showed that 83% of likely Republican voters strongly or somewhat support Operation Epic Fury, while just 9% say they strongly or somewhat oppose military action. Got that? Nearly three-quarters, 74%, say the U.S. And by the way, this isn't just MAGA. Nearly three-quarters, or 74% of respondents, say the U.S. should continue its campaign until Iran's military capabilities are destroyed, with 60% saying Trump should stop the war immediately. What about that? What about that? Compared to prominent podcasters, Carlson and Kelly both have criticized the president over the war. The poll found 83% of likely Republicans trust Trump's judgment. 6% have more confidence in those two. 6%. 6%. Even more respondents, 84%, agree with Trump's foreign policy views over Carlson and Kelly. 85% say they take the president more seriously in world affairs than them. Again, they're at 6%. Trump has largely declined to engage with Carlson and Kelly's critique, except to praise syndicated talk radio host Mark Levin, a staunch backer of the Iran war, who traded personal insults with Kelly. She started her insults, I responded, and she went to a point where I wouldn't go. Trump said, Mark Levin, a truly great American patriot, is somewhat under siege by other people with far less intellect, capability, and love for our country. He's a true conservative. in intellect, far smarter than those who criticize him. But above all, he's a man of great wisdom and common sense who truly loves our country. When you hear others unfairly attack him, remember they're jealous and angry human beings whose sway is much less than the public. Well, it's clear that they have no sway. Very clear. In fact, clear as day. If a GOP candidate was more aligned with the Carlson-Kelly camp, 55% of respondents say they would be less likely to support those candidates. Just 19% said they were more likely. So in other words, if Kelly and Carlson back a candidate, 55% of the Republicans are less likely to vote for them. So they're really, they're not just outliers, they are kryptonite. They're kryptonite, and they should be kryptonite. They're awful in so many ways, but you got to deal with them. You got to deal with them. Let's see here. I want to get all the relevant things done here. Bear with me. Mark Warner. This guy's a real loser. On CNN yesterday. Cut 19, go.
Director Gabbard told your colleague, Senator John Ossoff, that it's not the intelligence community's job to determine whether a country poses an imminent threat to the United States. She only said the president can do that. Does that come as news to analysts at the 18 agencies under her control, including the CIA?
Well, that comes to news to all of us who thought we still had a constitution and the requirement that a president, if he's going into a war of choice, you have to react quite quickly. We give the president the deference, but this was
Why
a war
does he
of
call this a war of choice, ladies and gentlemen? Why? You know, this jackass and the others, they'd be the first to say if something horrific happened. He had intelligence that told him that they had 22,000 pounds of nuclear material. His own envoy told him that they were bragging about making 11 nuclear bombs in 10 days. He heard that, the president. What did he do about it? He didn't do anything. And in 6 weeks, they would have had 25 bombs. Donald Trump should be impeached, right? Because he allowed the enemy to get nuclear weapons on his watch, and he didn't do anything about it. And these are the same fools. They do reports, after action reports, after we're hit on 9/11. After action reports. This is the same enemy. That enemy, Iran, was involved in 9/11. I've explained that to you. Involved in 9/11. They've been involved in other horrific attacks against us and our country through surrogates, too. And you have this guy sits on the Senate Intelligence Committee. He's a liar. He's a political hack. This military campaign is 19 days old. Honestly, nobody thought that Khomeini would be out, that the entire leadership would be killed, that all their manufacturing capacity for ballistic missiles would be destroyed, that their Navy would be destroyed, that everything would be destroyed. It was all destroyed in 10 days. Their leader was killed in 14 hours. We should be celebrating this. The enemy's losing. Sure, they have some kick. They're still kicking back. We know who they are. We know what they are. Instead, we get this. It's a war of choice. A war of choice. Instead, we get Joe Kent. Well, they really didn't. They weren't even close to nuclear weapons. Well, of course they were. Why do we give a damn what Joe Kent thinks? He was frozen out of the whole process for 3 or 4 months. Why do we give a damn what that moron Tucker Carlson has to say? He can't even decide what pants to wear. Or any of the rest of these bird brains. They don't have the backgrounds. They don't have the intelligence. They don't have the experience. They don't have anything. Grifters. That's all they are. I'll be right back.
Mark Levin.
It's time for a little spring cleaning, and I know where to start. Go drag your old, dated wireless contract out of the closet and beat it with a broom. Then freshen things up by switching to Pure Talk, my wireless company that gives you unlimited talk, text, and plenty of data, just $25 a month, with no contract, no cancellation fees, and no overseas customer service if you ever need help. I'm guessing you're going to like them as much as my listener Paul from Greer, South Carolina. He says, I finally listened to Mark Levin's advice and switched from Verizon. I'm getting the very same service for less than half of what I was paying Verizon. You know, I long wondered if these much lower services could provide the same level of service as the big boys. Now I know that Pure Talk certainly can. Thank you, Paul. Now it's time for you folks to make the switch, too. Go to puretalk.com/Levin, puretalk.com/Levin, and you'll save 50% off your first month. That's puretalk.com/Levin, and switch to a wireless company that shares your values. Pure Talk, America's wireless company. You know, Bernie Sanders. I have a question. Who has contributed more in terms of the wealth of the country, creating jobs, so families have food on the table, a roof over their head, clothes on their back, a car or two in their garage? Bernie Sanders or Elon Musk? Who's done more? Bernie Sanders or Elon Musk? Well, here he is, Bernie Sanders, on the floor of the Senate today. He is an old-time Stalinist. Cut 23, go.
Families struggling to feed their kids, pay for health care, pay for rent, pay for child care, pay for the basic necessities of life.
Now, you have to understand. He wants to destroy our country, destroy our economic system, destroy our prosperity. Now, there are people who have tough times, and there's people who have to really work hard to make ends meet. I just discussed that. But when you listen to him, he sounds like, what? Like we're Biafra. Like we're some third world country. And we're not. He trashes the country. That's all he does. Go ahead.
60% of our people live in paycheck to paycheck, and one guy, Elon Musk, owns more wealth than the bottom 53%.
Why? Hold on. The federal government has more wealth than the entire economy. The federal government has a debt that's 125% of the economy. That is bigger than the economy. Elon Musk could be worth $50 trillion. It doesn't affect you or me. He's not taking anything from us. The government is. When you pay your taxes every year, or for that matter every quarter, depending on who you are you paying them to Elon Musk, or are you paying them to Bernie Sanders and Uncle Sam? And if you pay anything to Elon Musk, you're getting something for it because you've made a decision to buy something that he produces. And all those people he talks about, paychecks, health care, pensions. Elon Musk has created tens of thousands of jobs. I don't even know the man. I met him once in passing. We barely looked at each other. I don't even know the guy. I don't even know if he likes me. I don't even care. But if he went under, so would tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of jobs related to him.
He's here. Now, broadcasting from the underground command post, deep in the bowels of a hidden bunker, somewhere under the brick and steel of a nondescript building, we've once again made contact with our leader, Mark Levin.
Hello, America. Mark Levin here. This is the Power Hour. Our number, 877-381-3811. 877-381-3811. We were cut off by the clock. I want to get back to this Bernie Sanders thing because nobody's going to talk about this. They're too busy talking about other things. But I have to, every now and then, deal with these things because they're just unacceptable. To have a true communist sitting there screaming at the top of his lungs how horrible America is, and he's constantly targeting the most successful people in the country. Now, I want you to understand something. I don't know if he's worth $300 billion, $400 billion, $500 billion. I don't know anything about him other than what we know publicly. It just doesn't matter to me. What I do know is he's not taxing me. He's not stealing from me. He's not running up our debt. Whatever he's doing is very successful. Now, why is that bad? Because one guy shouldn't have $500 billion. Let me tell you a secret. One guy never has $300, $400, $500 billion. It's not like they have cash in their house. It's not like it's in their mattress. It's not like it's in a savings account. They are accumulating or counting, aggregating all his assets, his physical assets. So all the companies he owns, as an example, his electric vehicles, they're counting up the value of all the electric vehicles they're selling, and it's a huge risk. Nobody's buying electric vehicles anymore, certainly not like they used to. And whatever else he's invested in or whatever else he's created and developed, would it be better if he never existed? Would it be better if he wasn't worth $300, $400, $500 billion and all those jobs didn't exist? I mean, what the hell is this? And Bernie Sanders gets to decide why. Is that what our Constitution says? Property rights, that was a key part of the American Revolution. This is exactly why the communists and their views are absolutely incompatible with our system. But they want to destroy the system and impose it on us. So they do it through jealousy. Jealousy. More jealousy. Why does Elon Musk have $300, $400, $500 billion when working class Americans can't make ends meet? If Elon Musk disappeared yesterday, tomorrow, today, so would everything he created. How does that help anybody? It doesn't. This is a power grab. What he's telling you is nobody should have over a certain amount of money. Give it to them. Give it to the government. Give it to politicians, because we all know they have our best interests. They're not going to give money to their buddies or their favorite causes or the leftists or whatever, are they? Well, that's the alternative. And when you cap somebody's wealth, that means beyond that, they're not going to work. They're not going to invest. They're not going to create jobs and products and everything you love. The iPhone's probably made for Apple over the years several $1 trillion. Is that too much? Well, they can't spend it all. They don't have to spend it all. What Bernie Sanders never does is stand on the Senate floor and say Elon Musk has created XYZ number of jobs. Elon Musk ensures that XYZ number of families have food on the table. Elon Musk makes sure X number of people have clothing, a roof over their head, a pension, health care. How the hell else are you going to get it? Unless somebody's investing, creating jobs, investing in capital, expanding, growing, and becoming wealthy. Why is that bad? Because Bernie Sanders decides that somebody shouldn't have $300 billion. Why does it matter? Why does it matter? Why is it any of my business? Is he paying his taxes? Yes. But so is everybody else that's on his payroll. They're paying taxes too. They're paying into Social Security and Medicare, workers' comp, unemployment comp. They're paying everything. And if Musk didn't exist, none of those jobs would exist. None of the benefits that come to average people who work in those jobs would they be getting. Why is it that the only good job is a job the government creates or the government says it's a good job? Why does that matter? What Bernie Sanders is saying to all of you, you can make up to a certain amount of money. After that, you're poison. After that, you're going to be attacked on the Senate floor. Okay, how much is it? $1 million, $5 million, $20 million, $100. Why do they get to make these decisions? Why? If I told you somebody's going to create 25,000 new jobs with good salaries, with good pensions, with good health care, and they're going to be able to provide for their family, but that guy's going to be worth $100 billion. Well, that's not costing me anything. The only way he gets my money is if I voluntarily give it to him and he gives me something back, a product or a service. What the hell's wrong with that? And 25,000 people are going to benefit. And so am I, getting what I want. How many of you are on the internet today ordering out of Amazon? Many of you, right? So this guy Bezos is worth $250 billion or something like that. Who cares? Look what he created. Look what this man created. He put everything on the line. He almost went broke. At first, they were only selling books. Then he expanded it to all these other things. Now they deliver it to your house, sometimes within 6, 8, 10 hours, maybe the next day. Look at the convenience. You want something, you go online. Meanwhile, the government takes your money. Do they conduct themselves that way? No, they give money to illegal aliens, to Islamists, pissing money away, $250 billion every year. They don't care about the market. They don't. Has the government ever asked you what you actually want? No, they want your taxes. When you go into a store, that's free enterprise. When you choose the clothing you want, or you want to go to a sale, when you go on Amazon, you get this, that, or the other thing. That's the private sector. You get to make all the decisions you want, from furniture, curtains. Maybe you don't like curtains. Maybe you want shutters, plantation. I don't know. Paints. Go on Amazon. Look what's available to you, and it'll be brought to you tomorrow. Genius. Look at all the jobs that creates, not just for the people at Amazon, but all the businesses that are positively affected because of the creation of Amazon. All the businesses that are created, all the truck drivers that are created, all the trucks that are built, the tires that are made. Just start thinking about the size of this. And some jackass gets up on the Senate floor because he's an economic mental midget. Why is he worth $300 billion? I just want 1 hour on the Senate floor to confront Bernie Sanders. Why do I care? Look, all the people starving. What does that have to do with it? If Elon Musk didn't exist, neither would his wealth in what he did. If Bezos didn't exist, neither would Amazon. You understand what I'm saying, folks? We take these things for granted. And have politicians who've created nothing, zero, except a massive debt that's so big it's going to smother your children and your grandchildren one day. Doesn't it matter that they're taking our money forcefully and Elon Musk isn't taking it at all? I haven't given $1 to Elon Musk. I haven't bought anything he has, but others have. And if you cap his wealth, then you cap the amount he can invest, the amount he can create, the businesses he can create, how much he can pay his employees, because Bernie Sanders decided that's the way it's going to be. I'll be right back.
Mark Levin.
You know, it's a pleasure to have Senator Jim Banks with us from Indiana. He hasn't been here in a long time, but he's one of the most solid senators in the Senate. Senator, I want to welcome you. What do you think about the president's handling of the military operation against Iran? I'd be curious.
Well, Mark, we're in day 19, and I don't think we've ever seen a more successful or sophisticated military operation than Operation Epic Fury. I was with President Trump yesterday, a very somber occasion, the dignified transfer of the remains of the 6 service members who were killed over Iraq in what was an accident with a KC tanker refueler plane. And on the flight there and on the flight back, had a chance to talk to the president about the operation. Obviously, we all want this to be over as soon as possible, but there's still more work to do. We've struck 8,000 targets, and just the fact that Iran has been continuing to act out. They struck Qatar, a site in Qatar yesterday. It reminds us that there's still work to do to take out their ballistic missiles, totally decimate their nuclear program to make sure that they can never get a nuclear weapon. President Trump is the best commander-in-chief of my lifetime and one of the best that we've ever had, and this operation just once again proves it.
Senator Banks, what do you make of people who keep saying the threat wasn't imminent? First, I don't even know what that means. They don't even know what it means, but if this isn't imminent, what do you have to do? Wait for them to fire a nuclear missile and hit one of our cities? It's so absurd, is it not?
It's totally absurd, and it completely rewrites history. I mean, I'm 46 years old, and Iran declared war on the United States of America, but the year before I was born, Mark. I mean, they've killed thousands of Americans. They've continued to funnel money to terrorist proxy groups, the biggest supporter of terrorism in the world. And what President Trump is doing, what we're really doing there is generational. I mean, this takes a huge threat off the table, a threat not just in the Middle East, but a threat to the whole world and one of our biggest adversaries. So what President Trump has done in just the first year and a few months of this second term, he's taken Venezuela off the table. He's taking Iran off the table. He's weakening other threats, Russia, China. Even the conversation right now is in the Senate Armed Services Committee this morning with the commanders of NORTHCOM and SOUTHCOM talking about what happens next in Cuba, what President Trump is negotiating for a greater military presence in Greenland and the Golden Dome. I mean, President Trump's legacy is going to be so big, and what he's doing in Iran right now is a big part of it. I mean, day 19, I mean, Mark, you think about some of the big military operations in American history. This has only been a short period of time. And what we've already accomplished is huge. We still have a little bit more work to do, and President Trump understands that we want to finish the job as fast as we can, but we want to finish the job before we stop, and that's what he's going to do.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, we want to finish it and finish it. We don't want to cut and run because that would be a disaster, and we wouldn't have done what we want to do, and some people don't seem to understand this. What do you make of this? You know, we had Ratcliffe testify today. We've had Pete Hegseth make the point, Rubio make the point, the president make the point that this whole thing about Israel dragging us into this war, that's a country of 9.5 million people. It's the size of New Jersey. We're the biggest power on the face of the earth, 300-some million, 50 million, 30 million people. You know Donald Trump. Does anybody drag him into anything, especially a war?
It's the most insulting thing anyone's ever said about our president, that they would drag. I mean, that we're not dealing with Joe Biden. We're dealing with Donald Trump, who's the strongest president, one of the strongest presidents that we've ever had. Nobody drags him into anything. I mean, he's so tough. I was with him, like I said, I was with him yesterday, and he obviously in a very somber mood because of what we were doing at Dover Air Force Base. But he understands what's at stake here. He understands the legacy that we're leaving behind by taking out this threat. We also understand, I mean, Israel is a powerful ally of the United States, and what we're accomplishing together is in our best interest. We know that if Iran was able to achieve and build a nuclear weapon, we know that it would be pointed right at us, Mark, in the United States of America. I mean, this is America first through and through to take out this threat. It's good for the Middle East. It's good for our so-called allies in Europe, even though the Brits and others aren't stepping up to the plate to help us out in the Strait. It's good for Europe to take out this threat, and it's especially good for the United States of America.
Let me ask you this. If I had told you that in the first 7 or 8 hours of this campaign, Khomeini would have been taken out, would you have believed that? I wouldn't have believed that.
Yeah, no way. I mean, obviously the timing of this operation was so perfect to begin it when it started, and how the precision of these strikes. Like I said, I mean, we've never had a more sophisticated operation, a more sophisticated intelligence gathering apparatus to know where these targets were. We've racked up 8,000 targets that have been struck. There's more work there to do, as I said before. And one big thing that we have to do, Mark, is get internet working in Iran so that the people there who are hungry and begging for their freedoms and an opportunity to take back their country can communicate and organize with each other once again. And that's one big piece of this puzzle that we can't lose sight of is giving them that opportunity. But the military operation has been so effective in a short period of time, and we've gained allies in the Middle East as part of this effort. And I wish that some of our so-called historical powerful allies like the UK would step up and do what they can do to help us, and hopefully President Trump will be able to get them in the fight to help us do that soon.
Mm-hmm. No, I agree. Spain, what the hell happened to Spain? They're crazy. The head of Spain, the prime minister, is so hard left. They have 500,000 illegal aliens there, and he just takes out his magic wand, making them citizens. So Spain is going to be changed dramatically. But you make a great point. These are NATO countries. They expect us to come to their defense. That's the deal. And the president asked them for a little bit of help, and they kind of sloughed us off, even just using some of their airports. UK, France, and so forth. It's pretty problematic, isn't it, Senator?
Yeah, it really is. I mean, from the outset, restricting airstrips that we could have used, like Diego Garcia and other airfields that are controlled by NATO countries, and preventing us from using what would have been strategic locations. Meanwhile, the Middle East has stepped up. I mean, I think there was probably lukewarm support among some Middle Eastern countries, but the way that Iran acted out in the immediate aftermath, that helped us gain support there. But you think about gas prices and all of the oil that flows through the Strait of Hormuz, and the fact that gas prices are going to go up in Europe. It's in Europe's best interest for us to clear the path and get oil flowing and end this as fast as we can. Not to mention the terrorist threat, not just in the Middle East but in Europe and around the world at the hands of Iran. So we got to get the job done. We got to get it done fast, and President Trump's going to do that.
If you can stick with us, I want to ask you about the Save America Act and the Democrats literally defunding our internal security while we're fighting this enemy that wants to strike us here at home. We're talking to a great senator, Senator Jim Banks of Indiana. We'll be right back.
The voice of reason in a sea of lunacy. Mark Levin. Dial in now. 877-381-3811.
All right, folks, we're here with a great senator, Senator Jim Banks. You know, you're not a drama queen out there, Senator. You're a do-your-job guy, and you're very respected, very classy guy. And I wanted to ask you about the Save America Act. Now, I hear Leader Thune, and he's concerned he doesn't have the numbers to get through this thing, and he doesn't have the numbers he says, to do a standing filibuster. But I'm guessing guys like you want to try and wear down the other side and give it a shot. Is that pretty much what's going on?
It's always worth a shot. You wear the Democrats down, you bring them to the table and force them to negotiate. You got to fight back, Mark. I mean, some of these Republicans aren't used to fighting back, and that's disappointing. Over the next few days, though, we are going to vote on the Save America Act. We're going to vote on amendments to it as well. The voter ID part of it is so popular. I mean, we're talking about 85% of Americans support voter ID. That's Republicans, independents, and a majority of Democrats in this country support voter ID. It's fundamental. It's popular. And then President Trump was so wise to say, we're also going to add 3 other provisions to the Save America Act and force Democrats to vote on issues like saving girls' sports. No boys in girls' sports. I have 3 daughters, so this is personal to me. And then no transgender surgeries on children. I mean, think about forcing Democrats. We're going to force them to vote on that. You're going to see Democrats vote against common sense measures like that. And then President Trump is really focused on the mail-in ballot part of this Save America Act to make sure that all of the shenanigans and the election rigging that happened in 2020 never happens again when you send unsolicited mail-in ballots out to all of the voters. And I'll tell you, Mark, I mean, just to complete this thought, in Indiana, our Attorney General, Todd Rokita, and our good Secretary of State, Diego Morales, just conducted an audit of our voter rolls over a few months ago, and found something like 135 non-citizen voters that were registered to vote that we took off of our voter rolls. This when you flood the country with 15, 20 illegals into this country like the Democrats and Joe Biden did, we have to do more to make sure that they never have an opportunity to register to vote or vote on Election Day like the Democrats want them to. That's why the Save America Act is important. Over the next few days, we're gonna cast votes on it. You're going to see some squishy Republicans vote against it, but you're going to see who's really for it. And I think everyone deserves to see that roll call vote after it's over.
Outstanding. Now, how do the Democrats justify, hear their propaganda, defunding TSA, defunding the Coast Guard, defunding the Secret Service, defunding FEMA in the middle of a war, and the absolute inconvenience they're creating for these hardworking men and women? You know, Bernie Sanders goes to the floor and goes on and on about working men and women and against Elon Musk, when he keeps voting to defund these entities that are very crucial to this country.
Yeah, I mean, these are working class people. I'm in the airports every week, and these are people like the people I grew up with. And my family, I'm the son of a factory worker and a nursing home cook. And these TSA agents are. This is a great opportunity for them to step up and get a great job, achieve the American dream. You would think Democrats would be for that, but they've defunded. These TSA agents have gone weeks without a paycheck, and they're still showing up and working hard every day to keep us safe. By the way, I mean, what's going on in Iran? I mean, the terrorist threat. We know that IRGC would love to strike, and their proxy groups would love to strike Americans and pose terrorist threats to our mainland, to our country, and that's why we need TSA on the job and Department of Homeland Security functioning. Over the weekend, we're going to confirm Mark Wayne Mullen to be the new Secretary of Homeland Security, so we can get him on the job right away. We're going to the Republicans in the Senate are going to stay here all week and get Mark Wayne Mullen on the job as the new Secretary of Homeland Security, and then keep forcing the Democrats to come to the table to try to make a deal to fund the department and end the shutdown of TSA and these important agencies that are there to keep us safe. Democrats don't want to do that. It's unbelievable.
No, because they want you to do reforms with ICE, which aren't reforms. They want you to gut ICE so you can't deport the people they brought in here illegally to begin with. It's all about their power. It's all about politics. It's all about votes. And that's why they don't want clean elections. That's why they don't want... You know, Senator Banks, 20, 25, 30 years ago, what you guys are proposing was the law of the land, pretty much. It wasn't a big deal, you know, voter ID and all these other things. That was the law of the land. Also, the deportation of illegal aliens, that was bipartisan until they decided they needed those votes. They needed extra congressional districts and everything. This is a very, very radicalized Democrat Party, isn't it?
Yeah, they're on a totally different planet than what most Americans are, with normal people who wake up every day and go to work. And these Democrats represent the Ayatollahs and the illegals far better than they do any working class blue collar voter in this country. And I think that you're going to see that these Save America Act votes that we're going to cast and the amendments to them that President Trump has demanded, rightly so, that we vote on. You're going to see who the crazy party is and who the party of common sense is, and who's on the right side of history. To your point.
All right, my friend. Thanks for joining us. Keep up the great work, Senator Banks. Appreciate you.
Thank you. Have a good
All right,
day.
you too. Take care of yourself. Good man. I'm reading here from Jonah Goldberg. I don't dislike Jonah Goldberg, but he says about Pete Hegseth, I think it's darkly funny that Hegseth thinks it's reassuring to hear him petulantly attack the media and insist it's just not true that we're spiraling into an endless abyss. You know, ladies and gentlemen, I think you're going to enjoy my opening statement on Saturday's Life, Liberty, and Levin. The opening statement focuses about 3/4 of the time, because I just pulled it together, on Abraham Lincoln. Because I try to bring these historical issues to the table and put some context to what's going on today. Lincoln was badly, badly, badly abused by the media, the newspapers. Badly. He's called an ape, and worse. Now, some of these newspapers were sympathetic to the Confederacy, but some of them weren't. Some of them were in New York. Some of them were in states that were, we call them red states today, Union states, Ohio, Illinois. And some of them didn't think he was acting fast enough. They were talking about how he was incompetent, that he never managed more than a two-man law firm. And they went on and on abusing him. One newspaper in New York even printed a draft notice that was a fraudulent draft notice, confused everybody. And said, you know what Lincoln did, Rich? He shut down the newspaper and he arrested the publisher. In fact, during the course of the Civil War, Abraham Lincoln shut down 300 newspapers and arrested multiple so-called reporters and publishers. There was even a congressman from Ohio, but he was a Democrat, who gave a speech that was particularly vile against Lincoln and the war. Lincoln had him removed and banished him to another state and forbade him from ever serving in Congress again. Lincoln suspended the writ of habeas corpus. Now, he did it. He did it because the fear was the Confederates were moving up north. They moved into Baltimore. They were cutting the telegraph line, which was the lifeblood for the Army. Baltimore being north of Washington, D.C. And so, you know, taking everybody into court was not possible. So he had the Army rounding up people and putting them in jail. Now, eventually, the Supreme Court ruled it was unconstitutional, but it didn't matter because the Republican Congress voted to allow him to suspend. That is, he couldn't suspend it on his own. I'm sure the Supreme Court would say today that Congress couldn't do anything, President couldn't do anything, the lawyers on the court would decide. But nonetheless, now I'm only bringing that up because our Fred Jonah talks about Pete Hegseth, like what Pete Hegseth saying about the media is petulant and da-da-da. This is peanuts compared to what used to be done, what used to be said. It's nothing. And same with the president. What the president has said about the media, that they're treasonous. Some of them are. But if the media are treasonous, I would have to tell you, that would include some of these podcasters and these de-influencers. Stop calling them influencers. They're de-influencers. They have no influence. They have influence with the liberal media that turns around and uses them to attack you and me. But I wanted to straighten that out. You're going to learn a lot. Saturday's going to be fun on Life, Liberty, and Levin. Sunday's going to be fun. I hope you check us out. Please set your DVRs. And we've got our wonderful podcast. Now, remember, I do them Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. So those of you who want to catch up, they're still there on Liberty's Voice, on YouTube and Rumble. Costs you absolutely nothing to check them out. I'll be right back.
Mark Levin.
All right, let's do this. Let's go to DeRio, Clearfield, Pennsylvania, on the Mark Levin app. Go right ahead, please.
Hi, Mark. I wanted
nice
to say,
and loud.
I keep in. I touch base on Tucker Carlson's show every now and again just to make sure what he's still up to. And I don't know, it kind of went under the radar. At the beginning of his interview with Mike Huckabee, he had made mention of the fact, and I'll read you the exact quote from his transcript. It says, "There was a threat to my family. The Israeli government and Netanyahu himself tried to punish two members of my family. I won't be more specific, but actually punished two
members." All right, DeRio, if you're not going to be more specific, meaning him, then what is he telling us? The guy's a pathological liar. If you're going to accuse a head of state threatening two members of his family, let's see the goods. He's not going to tell us what he means, though. This is the way this guy operates. And there you are quoting him and so forth. And I think you're quoting him because you think it's ridiculous. If the head of state think he has time to be thinking about threatening Tucker Carlson and 2 members of his family, well, let me tell you something. Let me be very specific. This jackass did a whole hour show. What was it, Rich, about 6 months ago, a year ago? On my stepson, who the president appointed to serve with the ambassador from the United States to Israel, Mike Huckabee. And he trashed my stepson viciously. And you know where my stepson is today, Dario? He's in a bomb shelter representing the United States of America. And he's in a bomb shelter with the ambassador and the ambassador's wife. I don't want to hear from this jerk that somebody threatened him and his family, but I'm not going to be specific. Was I specific enough, Dario? I think so.
Well, what I took away
Go ahead.
What I took away from it was the fact that it's a personal vendetta against Israel and Jews. It's not under the political cover that he likes to hide. It's the fact that it's a personal animus against Israel itself.
He has a personal animus because he's an anti-Semite. Because he brings people, he platforms them, who embrace the Third Reich, make excuses for Hitler, trash Churchill. He's got a long history of this now. And he doesn't hide it. But then he thinks when he says, but I'm not an anti-Semite and I'm not really against Israel. I'm not. He's a double-talking disaster. And the people are caught on to this. People understand what he is. They support the president, not him. Thank you for your call. Appreciate it. Ravi, San Diego, California, on the Mark Levin app. Go right ahead, please.
Hi, Mark Levin. Thank you so much for taking my call. My one point is that it's critically important for the United States and Israel to provide close air support for the mass protests that are going to happen soon, because we don't want to have a war that's been amazing, by the way, but that could the Iranian regime cannot hang on to power. If they don't provide close air support, the regime could. No,
I think we should do more than that. I think we should arm these people to the teeth.
I agree.
To the teeth. We got to make it possible for them to actually defend themselves as they're going after this enemy. It's our enemy. It's their enemy. It's Israel's enemy. It's Qatar's enemy. It's everybody's enemy now. And you're 100% right. I'm with you, brother. Thank you. We don't have a lot of time left, ladies and gentlemen. We salute our armed forces, police officers, firefighters, emergency personnel, our truckers, the men and women in Ukraine. We haven't forgotten you. The men and women in Israel, the men and women in Persia, and you, the United States of America, American red-blooded citizens. God bless each and every one of you. What would the world do without you? I'll see you tomorrow. God bless.